All right. Well, good morning. Almost lunchtime for you Eastern time zone people, but we just wanted to celebrate kind of the success of College App Week. Phenomenal response on social media, at least, and with our students. And we're really grateful to our higher ed partners who waived application fees and other things like that. So great. We're going to celebrate the best practices and events from College App. And then Jason C. is going to talk about FAFSA. So these are our contacts. I know you've got Jason saved as your favorites for all miscellaneous questions around FAFSA. And if you have any College for TN questions or something's, awry on College for TN, please just reach out to me directly and I'll try and remedy and do whatever I can there. So we're going to talk today briefly about College Application and Exploration Week. Again, make it abundantly clear you can do this College Application and Exploration Week at any point throughout the school year. If you're in an elementary and you want to do it in the spring when you have your students back, hopefully, and fully in person, then that's okay with us. But we have celebrated this week as our week. And then we're going to talk about the Senior Milestones Toolkit, which was a collaboration between the Department of Education, AERS, and Tennessee Achieves, as well as THEC and TSAC. And Troy and others on the call can chime in too about the highlights there. And then we'll finish kind of with the discussion because, of course, no one, at least to my knowledge, has survived or lived through a pandemic such as this. And so we need your input and your best ideas to figure out how are we going to get our students to complete the FAFSA in time to be eligible for the Promise and all the other great grants and scholarships. So I wanted to highlight just kind of on social media. So again, if you do or do not have social media, you don't have to post anything to kind of steal and borrow some highlights. So up here on the left is Creekwood High School from Dixon County Schools, and their school counseling office has taken the map that we sent with Path to College and clearly blew it up, took it to a local printer and had a larger one done. And so now it's kind of their photo booth. So you can see this student, I'm assuming, applied to UT Martin and took her photo in front. So this is just a great way to highlight. And then the counselor tagged UT Martin there and also used the hashtag TNCollegeAPPWeek. So there are greater impressions of that student's face gets kind of broadcast to a larger audience, and also it validates, hey, UT Martin, our kids are coming your way, so be on the lookout for them, and also know that they're humans with a face and not just a number in an application that came across their desk this week. And also Melissa's on the call here, so I just wanted to steal and highlight that they are doing a great job of highlighting the next guide that is available. So our Gear Up schools received one for every senior. But we also, with a partnership with State Printing, are going to be able to offer, if you want your seniors or your sophomores to have one, we have some prices and things that we'll talk about later or offline. So they've highlighted their pictures there of students on their computers. So because they're on their computers, they can literally apply for Tennessee Promise. And there's an adult in the room making sure that that happens. And this, for our metro schools and Shelby schools and others who are entirely virtual at this point, this is what we miss, our ability to look over the shoulders of our students and make certain that they have correctly applied. We also are grateful for the Department of Education kind of highlighting the work that we're doing as well and directly linking the Senior Milestones Toolkit there on College for TN. Now, we wanted to highlight the Senior Milestones Toolkit. So there are lots of resources, and they are found everywhere in miscellaneous places on College for TN, College Board, other things. But we wanted to highlight the toolkit. So before I go onto the live site here, Monica, we will send you a recording and we'll send you the slides as soon as we're done here today. I'm sorry that your video is not working. The Senior Milestones Toolkit can be found in these three places. So collegefortn.org, there's a rotating carousel and you'll be able to select Toolkit. It's also on the state website using the Gear Up link there, and also TN Achieves, a partner that the toolkit is best used with school counselors, directly to high school seniors, and of course their parents and guardians. So we hope that the toolkit can be a way for you to leverage the actual applications and other things as well. So this was a collaborative effort. So many partners and voices were included in creating this toolkit, and now we have direct links to the college applications online as well as videos. So every single school across Tennessee, public and private, submitted an application video. So they have very engaging students and admissions counselors who are walking students through a college application. This is really helpful because if you've done some sort of a senior survey, or you know exactly where your students are going because you use Remind or Signalvine, you can link all those students who are applying to Tennessee State University. They could get the application video and the link via text or email directly. So we're not sending a big list to every student. We're going to target our messaging, and that kind of was a lot of the motivation behind that toolkit. And also, there are how-to videos on what's most pressing right now, making sure that we have students complete the promise and create a TSAC student portal. So there are videos on how to do that. That, again, we could target our students who have yet to complete those steps in the process. And we will be adding FAFSA resources onto that toolkit as well as updating our links and videos around scholarships, not just Tennessee specific, but all scholarships. So
Kevin, I was going to say, now to the awkward transition, right?
yes. Any chat here in the...
So everyone, we're going to go actually to the live site right quick and just go through and just go through some of the resources, and then we'll transition into FAFSA talk here momentarily.
All right, so here we are on, I'm using Google Chrome for what it's worth. It works and functions on any of those applications. So as you can see, we've got the Path to College resources. You could click here and the next guide resources. And then here's the Senior Milestones Toolkit. So it goes under Milestones up here as the URL. And here is the toolkit. And we've broken it down into the key steps. So first and foremost, right now is Tennessee Promise application time. So as you can see, here we have the checklist, how to create a portal account, all of this information, and as well as a social media toolkit. So a social media toolkit is clearly targeted to you, the school counselors and site coordinators, as opposed to the checklist might be something we want to send directly to students who have yet to complete the promise. And there are some flyers as well, and a sample Tennessee Promise student communications and calendar. So what would our text message say? What would our targeted email look like? What kind of language and tone would we want to have when we're emailing or messaging our students directly? As well as the college application toolkit. So when I click on this toolkit, it should, God willing, pop up here. So as you can see, Troy Grant, our senior director, compiled this list, and with the partnership of our higher ed, we have all the community colleges on here. So I can click on an application, and that will send me directly to their online application platform. And again, just a cool thing, all of the community colleges, you know, applications are always free. So they didn't have to waive their fees during College App Week because any community college has a free application. And then the video goes directly to the YouTube link. Now, if your school blocks YouTube, We haven't placed them anywhere else other than YouTube, but you can message me directly after. We can try and figure out some workarounds. I'm sure our students are savvy and they've found a way to go around and access YouTube on school-provided devices and others. My third grader has already figured that out. So here's an example of the College Application Toolkit. So it is there directly, and this is something that we want our school counselors to have access to. And again, when we get into the specific steps of the college application, then after the students have completed these necessary milestones, what do we want them to do afterwards? And these are student handouts that you can print out and modify as well. And as you can see here, coming soon, we're going to be parking this presentation and webinars and other things within this FAFSA submission. So it'll always exist on TNFAFSAFrenzy.gov, but it's going to make sure that we have the resources there. So I will stop sharing here and pass the ball back to Jason.
Kevin, thank you. Before we transition into FAFSA, and Troy, I know you're online, and not to put you on the spot, anything you want to add right here?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think we're so appreciative, as Kevin mentioned, of just the great response to App Week this week. And I also think, and Kevin mentioned this too, is that while App Week is obviously an emphasis, and we've said this every year, we have this kind of designated kind of space to do it. This season is just going to look different, right? It's going to, I think we've talked a lot about in the programs that we run at TEC is that there's a different level of grace we're all going to have with ourselves in terms of the pace of getting some of these milestones done in partnership with our seniors. And so both, I think it's important for counselors to give themselves grace in doing that, but also these resources are going to be around. And so I think as you continue to work with students with applications, continue to use these things. And I think some of the things that Jason is going to be talking about in our partnership in terms of creating FAFSA Frenzy materials is that this year is going to look different, and we need feedback from you all that if there are things that you don't have that would be helpful, let us know, because we want to create those resources so that you can do your work and do it really well. So anything we can do to partner with you all, that's great feedback for us. But we're just really appreciative of all the great work that everyone's doing out there.
Troy, well said. And again, good morning, everyone. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Jason C. And I guess I'll take us home or take us at least through the next few slides. Again, today marks at least the state-focused College App Week, although, right, College App Week season perhaps continues throughout the semester as we encourage students to apply to college if they did not this week. But that said, next Thursday, the 21-22 free application for federal student aid opens at FAFSA.gov, and thus hashtag TNFAFSAFrenzy begins. Kind of as a reminder here, beyond the availability of the FAFSA through FAFSA.gov, there is a mobile app for parents and students to use, and that can be downloaded from either the Apple Store or Google Play for those that have Android devices. And folks, I've had more experience with the app over the last few years, and this is one of those years I think. Thinking about some of our students from a virtual perspective, and God bless them, some of them may not have Wi-Fi and this, that, and the other, that potentially they could leverage the app and obviously use cellular data. Obviously that could have some limitations there as well. But just understand there is a mobile app that is quite user friendly, and it's something that I think from a professional perspective, I think more and more of us will be pushing, potentially as we try to assist students, especially in a virtual environment. A few things that we can officially announce, and we're going to be sending you an email to yet again share with your families, meaning your parents, your guardians, your high school seniors, your faculty, like anyone who either A, needs to do a FAFSA, or B, might be a FAFSA resource for your students, for your families within your schools, right? I mean, this doesn't, as we've talked for many years about, this doesn't all have to fall onto the shoulders of the school counselor. You know, I think within each school we can find some champion teachers and other faculty that can also help with FAFSA submission and completion. But beginning Monday, October 5th, the outreach team will launch FAFSA Line by Line Mondays, where folks, we will be going through the FAFSA line by line. As boring as that may sound, that has been something that has been requested. And so, again, we're calling it FAFSA Line by Line Mondays. Much like our August and our September webinars, we will send you a link that you can share with whomever you want to share, and they will just simply need to register for whatever Monday webinar works best for them. But again, as of right now, these line by lines will be each Monday at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And interestingly, for those of you who are joining us on, if I may call it, the East Coast, interestingly, our webinar numbers for the month of August, September, have been the best and the strongest at that 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern hour, even for our Eastern time zone folks, right? Just looking at all the data, again, that 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern time slot has been the most popular for all counties in the state of Tennessee, or at least for those that have obviously taken advantage of the Paying for College series. Now, beyond the FAFSA Line by Line Mondays, that first full week of October, we are also going to do a FAFSA Line by Line at the same hour on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evening as well. And then we're going to have FAFSA FAQ Fridays. This is going to be our quote-unquote lunchtime offering, 11:30 Central, 12:30 Eastern Time. And again, the idea for this is for parents, students, perhaps even for you as a professional. If you have questions about the FAFSA, the idea is the webinar will highlight kind of the most frequently asked questions, but also this will be the time for parents and students and counselors and teachers and college access professionals to also bring their questions and have those answered as well. So that webinar is going to be each Friday at 11:30 Central, 12:30 Eastern. We'll be doing one specifically on Wednesday, October the 7th, at that same time. Interestingly, the second most popular time for all Central and Eastern time zone people has been that lunchtime webinar. So that's why, for at least October and what we have proposed this far, that's why we're doing these on these dates and times. Now, additional resources, Kevin, you've already kind of alluded to this, but we will be adding the following within the Senior Milestone Toolkit, or to be linked on TNFAFSAFrenzy.gov. But folks, because, and say this now, COVID has impacted all of us, and individually it has impacted perhaps more some than others. That being said, you're looking and hearing from someone right now that because of my home situation, I'm going to have to remain virtual throughout this, right? And so that said, another thought process that Kevin, Elvin, who's joined us today, Troy, and our respective teams have all discussed is this year is to record a section by section FAFSA walkthrough, for, again, our professionals, our counselors to share with parents and students, so that hopefully perhaps at home, a student can listen to perhaps yours truly talk for 8 minutes about the first student demographic section of the FAFSA, or for Sam Mullins to listen to him for 8 to 10 minutes talk and walk someone through the parent section of the FAFSA. So, instead of some parents, some students, they'll want to hear that line by line, say 60-minute webinar, but we also want to record these in a more digestible version as well. So those will be recorded hopefully by the end of next week and on the website as we begin that October 5th week. So that's to come. As we record these section by section walkthroughs, they're going to be scripted. And so another idea is to basically create a FAFSA instruction guide. And so this is probably going to be somewhat of a larger file. And again, Troy, Kevin, Elvin, others, we can talk about whether we want to keep this an entire PDF or again, break it up by section. With that said, basically take the screenshots of each FAFSA screen and within a PDF, show it, and then below it have the script of how students and how parents should be answering these questions on that page, right? Again, we've not necessarily done that in the past to this degree, but again, thinking about all of our various schools and how whether you are hybrid or completely in person or virtual, and depending on how outsiders like myself perhaps can't engage right now, these are the thoughts to try to help you and your student and that parent with that FAFSA. These are the things that we're doing. And then as always, we'll have the helpful one-pagers. For example, the Who is My Parent one-pager, what are the FAFSA dependency questions for some of our families that always ask, what's considered an asset on the FAFSA when I'm asked the question, please report the amount of assets, in your household, blah, blah, blah. Those one-pagers will be added to the FAFSA Frenzy website and linked to the Senior Milestone Toolkit as well. As Kevin went over earlier, and many of you have tweeted or tagged us throughout this week on social media, for those of you that have been able to do things in person, obviously, as we kick off FAFSA Frenzy season, we would also encourage you to post things for those of you who like to be active on social media. And again, using that hashtag TNFAFSAFrenzy. In this example, we see that Nashville State has expanded Wi-Fi access into parking areas at their various campuses. That said, something to come as we think about FAFSA season. TASFA, which some of you are familiar with that acronym, the Tennessee Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators. It has approached myself and Troy and others within TEC and TSAC, the colleges that are connected through TASFA, which for the most part, it's all the Tennessee campuses, what they would like to do on October the 29th, this is a tentative date, but October the 29th, they would like to have a FAFSA workshop, a drive-through workshop, at campuses across the state of Tennessee. Again, folks, I am sharing this with you in terms of the tentative plan. What we're waiting to hear is what campuses would like, and again, we're talking about college campuses, what college campuses would like to participate. But the idea is for those who are willing to participate that they will open up their parking lots where parents and students can drive in and drive up and potentially receive virtual assistance with FAFSA, where the student, through a laptop or again, through their iPhone or Android device connects to the FAFSA app. And for example, if they have a FAFSA question, they may be able to, turn on their bright lights, and that will then alert someone from that team, that campus team, to come out and help the student through a question or what have you. So again, that's an idea that is being discussed right now. The date, October 29th, is the tentative date for that. as we receive more concrete information, we will by all means communicate that out with all of our high school counselors. And this is where, Kevin, obviously, I love this this idea where we can kind of maybe talk a little bit in the chat in terms of, so beyond these resources that we've discussed thus far, maybe a few other things I'll add here is, how can we get our seniors to complete the FAFSA? We'd love for, have an open discussion through chat right now, and what practices, Kevin, I loved what you said earlier, right? None of us have been through a pandemic before, but if there have been any practices that you potentially have learned even thus far, as it relates to college applications and Tennessee Promise signups, also the dual enrollment grant give application signups, perhaps those are practices that can also be used as we talk FAFSA as well.
Yeah, and I posted this question here too. I'm trying to Q&A, but as we look at other states, a lot of them really are using directed personal messages is kind of the way to get it. So one of the things that many of our Advise TN and Gear Up sites have realized is setting an all call at 6 p.m. with Jason C. or one of the outreach coordinators. It's not going to get all the students. So something that we typically did during a normal time definitely is not working right now. So there are some suggestions that, Remind, Signalvine, there's lots of other, Google Chat, there's other ways to really send targeted messages. But as we look at many other states, a lot of them have employed, whether it's a chat bot, like Rhode Island has a chat bot, they call it OtterBot. And some school districts, like I see in the state of Indiana, a lot of them are doing virtual chats where from noon to 3, they have several school counselors all monitoring a certain tag on social media. So whether it's Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, that's how students and parents send in messages and say, hey, I'm really stuck on question number 15 or whatever it is. So then they can provide some direct contact with them. So we just wanted to kind of hear if you wanted to post in the chat some best practices that you are going to try, because we want to encourage people to try some things. And if they don't work, they don't work. But we're trying to figure out this really, this process. So.
Yeah, and Kevin, I'll add here in things that Troy and I've discussed as well that I want to say again, we are considering. One thought process has been to perhaps create a FAFSA hotline specific to Tennessee families, right? That say a team of us at TSAC perhaps monitor. That again, that's an idea that we're considering. Another thing like this week even that's come up and all of us know whether it is your Advise Tennessee person, whether it's your Gear Up person, whether it's your outreach specialist, whether it's your favorite college access professional that works with your school in your respective county. These individuals have often been your go-to for FAFSA, and obviously I'd say continue that in terms of emailing or sharing contact information with parents and students of these individuals. But another thought that's come up this week is maybe to also create a FAFSA email where parents, students potentially could just email to just one single email address that, selfishly I'll say that not only I probably would monitor, but others would monitor, within our agency as well. That's been an idea that's been posed this week. And then also the idea of scheduling like one-on-one virtual appointments for especially those of us that like myself, that, I can't right now be in person and be at a school helping, say 350 folks at Antioch High School like I typically would be in October, or 275 people attending a workshop at McGavick High School like I typically would. And so, another idea is for, I think, leverage these resources, parents and students to, watch the walkthroughs that we create, look at the instruction guide, and then if they're still stuck, Kevin, to your point on like question 15, at that point in time, then they potentially could again email, call someone, or at that point schedule a one-on-one appointment with someone. And so those are all ideas that I think we're still ironing out and considering, and going from there.
Yeah, I think so someone's posting in the chat here about Pelisipi, the virtual walk-in student services, breakout rooms. Yeah, so those are great ideas. And then Suzette Kelly in our office has spearheaded SMORE newsletters. So if you need any help or support with what is SMORE, these are really great student-centered interactive newsletters that you can send. And as she pointed out, you can send up to 4 of them a year for free. So free is always nice. Okay, and then Calendly, Jody points out she uses. Yeah, I think that we found in typical times, again, when I schedule, Kevin Edwards is going to be speaking with Jason C. at 3 p.m. That means that he's accountable to that time, his parents, his documentation. He has made a plan to do those things. So when you have a Google Invite or a Google Calendar where students can sign up, many of you are Google schools, you can sign up for a time, and then that's when you can say, I've got 15 scheduled today, as opposed to asking an outreach coordinator to spend all day at your school. This is a really great, safe virtual space. And again, it can alleviate some of those privacy issues too. And maybe a parent can also join that phone call if they're at break at work, those kind of things. So I don't physically have to be sitting in an office to have that kind of support. So, and yeah. So we want to hear from you guys, whether it's now, I mean, we're just about the end of our presentation here. We will send out these recordings as well. But if you want to post a question or a chat. Were you going to say something, Jason, or?
No, I was not, or was not, I should say. I will say, Troy, Kelvin, y'all jump in if y'all have anything to add.
I don't know that I would. I mean, I think just a kind of a rehashing of everything that was said. I think, again, it's going to be a different way of doing it this year. And we've seen in schools who have kind of, instead of doing these large kind of events, even pre-pandemic, we're having some great success in scheduling smaller group meetings, individual families, or 2 to 3 families at a time in a lab. I think thinking about new ways of doing that, I just was seeing Sign Up Genius, scheduling through things like Calendly, and there's a Pointlet and Schedule Once, these tools where you can basically say, we have these times during, these hours, and then people can automatically sign up. But I also think it's important to think too, as you think about your population, and this is going to look very different in every school, is like understanding what are the right times where families can actually engage. Is that just during the school day? How can we look in the evenings in a different way? How can we pull in partners? Where we've seen the best success in FAFSA filing across the state, to what Jason said earlier, it isn't where there's like a lone ranger who's doing all the FAFSAs. It's how you can pull together a team in partnership with your administration or community members. Accountants are a really good resource, I think, in doing this kind of thing. And so, and I think that's where you can leverage too some of the trainings that Jason offers, like the line by line, is a great way to orient someone to what the FAFSA is and how it works, not just for their own benefit to filling out the FAFSA, but if you're training a group of people who are going to be helping you with FAFSA filing, those are great resources to kind of get them up to speed. We'll also have the FAFSA Frenzy Toolkit, as we have in the past. The guidebook, the handbook that we've done in the past, we'll be publishing that. So no, I think that's all I have. But again, I think we're eager to hear some feedback from folks so that we can make sure that we're doing the best we can to equip folks and give you what you need.
Yeah, and Troy, Kevin, Elvin, we've all actually, I'm sure we've all reached out to others. I, in the last couple of weeks, have reached out to like agencies in other states just to kind of compare, FAFSA initiative ideas and notes. And, I will say, I mean, everything that we've discussed here, is being replicated in other states. And like none of us, there's not a one size fits all. And I don't think there's ever a one size fits all model when it comes to FAFSA anyways, period. But especially this year in a state and in many states where you have so many districts that are obviously doing different things, and as it pertains to in-person, hybrid, all virtual, etc. That I'll say this, y'all know FAFSA is my Christmas time. It's my, I guess the other thing I say sometimes, FAFSA season's my Super Bowl season in terms of it's my favorite time of the year, and I just want to help. I want to ensure that not only that our team collectively helps you and your students and families with this application, and whatever and however different that may look like this year, we're going to get this done. And again, I think we will learn things and perhaps try even new things, say a month or two from now, than what we'll be doing in a week or two from now. So, Kevin, you said it well earlier. I think all of us, we just need to have grace with one another this year, right? And as we go through this FAFSA season and stuff, but I think we're gonna learn a lot, and we're gonna do a lot as it relates.
Yeah,
you get all this done.
Yeah, I think we'll really kind of fine tune the things that we've done. So when we come out of this, we'll really know, that thing that I was doing wasn't quite working in typical times. So that took a lot of my time. I'm gonna abandon that practice, and I'm just gonna really zoom in here because I can really get to all my students using this process or this practice. So we don't want you to feel like we're putting more things on you, because as we know, you can't do something new if something else didn't leave the table, right, or leave your backpack. We've got to take some things out. So right now we're trying to figure out the best practice and the highest yield strategies. And I think targeted messaging in a safe virtual space, and then leaning on, the outreach coordinators that on Jason's team are really innovative, creative people too. So bounce some ideas off with them, and they'd be willing to kind of figure out some ways. I know whether it's Facebook Live or other creative processes. So we are, again, the agencies that support you with resources and other materials. And the FAFSA Frenzy Toolkit, we will try and have those materials ready before the start. I know it's the 25th. We'll have it before the start of FAFSA, and we'll get those resources to you as well. So that's all I have on my end.
Kevin, October 5th. Let's not overpromise. October 5th. I hope by October 5th we have all those walkthroughs.
Okay. Well, I'm saying just the one pages and worksheets that we just need to check spelling and update dates. So,
buddy, I'm kidding. I will say, I will remind everyone. October 1st, October 2. You choose to do FAFSA at your school. Great. God bless you. I just always remind October 1st, October 2 sometimes are when FAFSA experiences the worst issues. So that's one reason I'm kind of holding off until October 5th to get stuff started. Just knowing how the 1st and 2nd can be, but just remember that, as some of you may plan some things next Thursday and next Friday. Hey, Elvin, you've been quiet, man. You got anything to add before we wrap up here?
No, you guys have really done a good job of explaining where we are. I think all the resources that you mentioned in the past and the things that Troy talked about are really good. I think the one thing that I would add to all that is, counselors, and whether they're outreach specialists or, Gear Up or Advise Tennessee people, you're going to have to be patient this year. and very creative. And I think one of the things that we've seen in the last week when we did College App Week is it's already starting to prepare us for what we're gonna see when it comes to the FAFSA, because what we've known in the past is not going to be what's going to take place this year. Because of COVID, it's going to limit the amount of time that we can gather together. It's going to limit the number of people that we can gather together, and we're just going to have to be creative and take some things from the past and create some new things in a virtual platform that's going to help us be able to get through the FAFSA this year. But as Jason said, we're going to get through this and we're going to be successful at it. We're just going to have to be patient with each other. And the more resources and the more people you can pull on your team, I think it's going to be better. It's going to better prepare you to dealing with this. But I think we're ready for this, and I'm excited about this moving forward.
Hey, Kevin, if I may, somewhat just show the map right quick, folks. All of you should know this, but here's their outreach team, the contact information. All the numbers listed are cell phone numbers. So as a reminder, you can text this team, call, obviously email as well. And that includes obviously my number as well, folks. I mean, y'all know, most of you on here know me. I'm just me. I'm Jason. If you need me, text me, call me, email me. I'm here for you. I think the other thing, Kevin, right quick, Elvin, Troy, I think we really also should just encourage those of you on social media and at your schools to follow us at our various on our various social media accounts, because just like you saw in the spring when all this began, this is how not only by emailing you updates, we also communicated updates as it related to Hope Scholarship, Tennessee Promise, etc., out through our social media channels. So, on Twitter, follow us at TN Promise, at TN Higher Ed, on Facebook, TN Promise, and then finally on Instagram at TN Higher Ed. So, whatever social media platforms you're on, follow us and make sure your school follows us, just as, perhaps future decisions are made that needs to be communicated out. This is yet another way we will communicate out that information. Again, Kevin, I don't know if I was supposed to leave this in here or not, but selfishly, there's my contact information one more time. So again, y'all call, email, or text if you need anything from any of us. I think you know all four of us, but just let us know if you need anything.
Thank you, guys.